Hello everybody, today I have the pleasure to propose to you this new key 77 entitled Multidimensionality. So we're gonna spend 4 videos on this fascinating topic, for which we will split in different parts, but we will evoke different things to really to embrace and to understand, and as I like to say, to even understand through yourself what is concretely the multidimensionality. We hear it many often recently that we are in a multidimensional world. You are existing here, now here, and also in parallel on superposition and so on. For that, as an introduction, I just wanted to share with you, and this is not innocent. If I took this place, this is the garden we are sharing with in Turkey, southwest of Turkey. So you can see in a shirt in winter, so it's beautiful weather. And this symbol, what is it? Actually, each orange could represent the universe. I mean, a universe, and all of them, they are independent, okay? Within them, they have like seeds, they have a piece of orange and so on, some drops inside. If you take it, you will have the energy and so on. Okay, this is one universe for which inside each seed would be like a galaxy and so on and so forth. Okay, planets, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so they are independent, okay, physically, apparently, but they are, let's say, they are connected through the same sap, okay, S-A-P, the same sap, and also they have the same roots. And within the seeds, if they fall down, they will, it will become, it will blossom later, a new tree like this, infinitely. Okay, so that's why I choose this beautiful symbol. Well, so what is multidimensionality? To make it short, multidimensional. It means that you are, we are, and they are different dimensions, okay, at the same time, okay, for which you have your consciousness within one of them, and maybe we are shifting all the time. So we're gonna talk about that, and through different parameters, scientists, like usually with metaphors and so on. But the multiverse, we will evoke the superposition of time, the simultaneity of time, of times as well. Space-time, we will be obliged to come back on the simple principle, what is space and time, okay, as a block, space-time, plus we will have to reintegrate the notion of consciousness, individual consciousness, and the consciousness with a capital letter. The superposition of state of consciousness, of state of mind as well, the coexistence of incarnation through the notion of soul mother, soulmates, and so on. Let's say I use also this analogy in the past with, you know, the different trees here with olives. The transincarnation, okay, I will not respend as much as in the key 75, the fourth video, but we will talk about briefly. The morphic fields, very important concept from Rupert Sheldrake, for which it will also allow us to enlarge the perspective of the consciousness, okay? And the quantic or quantum double, okay? What is it? This is what the Egyptians called the K-A, okay? So it's let's say, you guide, you angel, you higher self, let's say, out of space-time in a certain extent, okay? Allowing you to be your GPS, for choosing, according to your vibration, what is the best option for you for experiencing. But probably, in parallel, you are doing all of them. This is the simultaneity. Okay, first of all, as a short introduction, I'm gonna share also what I say different times, what I lived, the experience, the inside, the bing bang of my consciousness when I was 21, in 2001, okay? I make it short. Started to have a out-of-body experience, astral journey and so on. And then my consciousness, as let's say, as in quantum memory, embracing the cosmos and the consciousness. Okay, I had the feeling not to be me, Aurélien Milo, I am, and I was something bigger. Like, I cannot say that I was everything, but I had kind of feeling. It's impossible to use words for that. That's why Rumi said, the silence is the language of God. All else, something else, is bad translation or poor translation. Okay, word to a wise. So, and it was so big, and I had the feeling like I was in a 360 degrees vision, like this, and from one point of view, okay, the point of singularity, there were some lines going everywhere, but the timelines were like small dominoes, like a small screen of this video, and I do it in parallel with a different angle 1 hour later, but it doesn't change anything. Another one a little bit more, I never launched my YouTube channel, and so on and so on. And same for everybody. So it was extremely complex. It was even more complicated than this, because there were bubble within the bubble. Okay, like the flower of life in 3D. Okay, so, and I really understand that principle, which is difficult even today to express with simple words. So another point more down to earth is just during my childhood, I remember my father is a great scientist, professor, doctor in science. And we used to, I loved and still love astronomy. Okay, so we had, let's say, a device to observe, and I was fascinated by stars. You know, in French, être, being, okay, human being, être and astre, astral, is the same origin. Okay, and this is not innocent also. But anyway, I was feeling that they were like small consciousness talking to us, giving us some energy, some light, and so on. And I was manipulating them with constellation, and there was some very interesting thing happening for a creative kid. But anyway, it was not the point. And he says something very simple. It was a night we were observing in August, you know, in east of France, where my roots are. I mean, I was born and I grown up in north of France, but anyway. And he said to me just a simple thing, who create literally an insight, a bing bang of my consciousness. He said, what you observe now, the stars, are past. This is not present. You observe past. Time for a star, if it is located at 10,000, let's say 10 light years, if it's collapsing now, okay, switch off, you will see it only 10 years later, and immediately I say it's incredible. It means that if we sound a probe, for example, giving you back immediately, instantly, okay, the image. We could watch presently the image of let's say of the dinosaurs and so on. But it's a kind of truth, because this is we will see later. But this is what some probe actually can take some picture of the Big Bangs. Why? Because the concept is like if you throw a stone into water, okay, it will create some waves. But after a while, it's you don't see anything else. But the waves are so thin and small, and it's the same for energy. That's why nothing. It's endless for events and so on and so forth. Well, anyway, so actually, time cannot be separated for a space-time as a block, but you need to conceptualize it as a block, then to separate existing to exist. It means separate. You need to separate it, okay, to reassembling, okay. So it's like alchemy, okay. You destroy, you clean up, and then you reconnect. So let's say we're gonna start with some very easy concept regarding space-time. So it's fascinating, the old civilizations since the beginning, let's say, but none of them, or none of the civilization, let's say, changed the concept of time, okay? Even the liberalism, the communism, and so on and so far, they never change it, okay? It's a kind of constant, okay? And I did in a book recently, to create the confusion is a dystopia, a bit like 1984. It's taking place in 2050. And they changed the concept of the second, okay, so the minute. So a minute is 100 seconds. Imagine the complexity when you change that. It's like changing a currency, which happened in Europe, for example, when we added to euro and so on. You can imagine the confusion. So there are a lot of symbols regarding time because it's extremely difficult to represent it. Ouroboros is one of the most known, which is the snake eating its own tail and so on. You have the water, you know, the river and so on and so forth. But why I precise this? It's kind of obvious, you're gonna think, yeah. But it is difficult because the more you talk about time, you are in it also. So that's why it's a kind of eating your own tail as well. It's because I will explain later, but this is even quite confused because time is just a beep, okay, a point. Plaque. Okay, then second one is a duration. So it is a segment, okay, point, segment. And then endless point is a line, right? So, and you have different things within this. It means that, concretely, it's, you have a perception as well, which is subjective. The perception of time, let's say, an hour, for example, if you are in a party and so on, without alcohol, of course. I mean, otherwise your perception is changed. But you enjoy your moment. 1 hour is super short, compared to if you are waiting and you get bored. It's obvious. You know, the last 5 minutes for the team leading the score is eternal because it's so long, stressing and so on. And for those who are led, it's too short. You know, it's question of perception. I like to say time is always too long for boredom, too short for enjoyment, but eternal for unconditional love. So, by the way, this is a quote that we call Japanese philosophy koax, okay? And this is Zen, let's say, and I have 99 quotes like this in English, of course. I mean, it's okay. The name of this book is available on my website for free, by the way, and this is with animation. And there is many layers of perceptions, okay? So I invite you to take a look, for instance, but each sentence normally is quite deep. Well, you know, there is two schools, but the time of dream, one of the schools say that it's on average 7 seconds per dream, and maximum would be 12 seconds. And a second school maximum would be cycles of 20 minutes for a dream. Okay, whatever, even if it's 20, concretely, it's happened to all of us that we had the feeling it was hours and hours. Or you just, for example, you fall asleep for, let's say, 1 minute, okay, your alarm clock, alarming again 1 minute later, and you fall down and you already have like a quantum of information of an illusion of a story, for example. So the time differences are very funny because it's fascinating, and I feel this is I mean, stuff of grown-ups, but in a certain time I'm gonna tell you what I was asking all the time when I was a kid. Why? Because it's there is something wrong with it. When you watch a map, for example, the world map, and if I focus on Europe, with the Ukrainian frontier with Poland, until the extreme west of Europe, that's to say Galice, okay, north of Spain, I mean north of Portugal, there is 2,500 kilometers, and this is the same time. Okay, same timeline. I mean, even if you go on the extreme, same time is not Mauritius, sorry, is Mauritania, sorry, and so it's not really accurate. Same for China. China between the coast and Tibet, for example, or Turkestan, there are the province. They are the equivalent of 3 time difference, okay? So, beyond of that, you know, there is a line in the Pacific for which you are Monday and you are Tuesday, okay? There is 24 hours. It doesn't make sense, you know? And I remember that I was waiting for a plane one day, and I was observing, it was Calgary, and it was Auckland, okay? Calgary and Auckland. I'm gonna show you. So if you see on the map, Calgary is in Canada, okay, would be here, let's say, roughly, or Alaska, if you want also to, and there was Auckland. Auckland is the capital of New Zealand. And actually, there was 21-hour difference, but also 3 hours difference, because if you put the map like this, is a difference. And so it doesn't make sense. And I'm going to tell you what I was always asking to teachers. I was asking, what time is on the moon? What time is on Mars? What time is... You understand? There is no time there. I mean, there is not the same time difference. That's why it's a kind of nonsense. But anyway, it's also to try to synchronize our watch as well. Let's go further. I remember it was funny. A plane took off in 2018 for landing in 2017. Why? Because he take off probably the contrary of the rotation. And probably something like 1st of January, the morning, and he arrived 31st of December. So it's kind of nonsense as well. You know, it's more funny. There is a study all over in the world. 100% of the kids prefer a piece of chocolate right now instead of the full chocolate 1 hour later. Why? Because for them, 1 hour doesn't make sense. There is only now, and this is the most important for them. I remember in my courses of philosophy, I remember one metaphor which was very interesting for me. It was a little innocent story about eternal daily life daily rows. Okay, so it means the lifespan is only 1 day. Okay, so, and for them, the gardener is eternal. Okay, maybe he work 50 years, and if you multiply 50 by 369 days, 35 days, sorry, and you obtain more than 18,000. So it means ancestry, 18 generations of rows talk about him and saw him. So for them, is it eternal according to the referential, according to the point of view in a quota mark. But, and if you multiply like this, if you put the same scale, if let's say each ancestor lived on average 50 years, you obtain almost 1 million of years. So everything is a perception. If we go further, if I was born with Earth, okay, officially 4.6 billions of years, which is impossible for us humans to remember, to visualize concretely. It's too high. So, but anyway, if it was the case, concretely, 100 years would be just a blink of eye. It would be nothing almost. You know what? I calculated, and you obtain 0.50000, 22%. What does it mean? It means on a scale of human scale, it would be something like 68 seconds. 1 year, 100 years for the planets. I mean, is the feeling, in the feeling, the perception with the proportionality would be the equivalent of 68 seconds. Okay, a minute of silence, if you want, if you see what I mean. So, anyway, let's go further. I told you the time of dream is subjective as well, and this is what we saw before. The illusion of time, okay, the illusion of the arrow of time. Okay, how come? You know, in Sanskrit, for example, in Sanskrit, so the equivalent of the Latin of Hindus, the word time doesn't exist. And in a lot of primitive civilization and so on, or first civilization, premier civilization is more beautiful, and so on. Saint Augustine, who revealed me through different manners, say the following: how to be in time and detach myself from it to talk about it, think about it. He said as well, time is and flows at the same time. So when we become aware of it and live it, we have extracted ourselves and we let it flow. So, you know, it's time pass, but what does pass concretely? Think about that. There is, you know, a Taoist proverb saying, time watches men passing. Think about it. You know, this is always the question: is it the flow of the river, or this is the ground? You know, like chicken and egg, making the evolution of the water. Think about that. The same at the beginning of the river, or at the end, it is the same speed. No, it's not the same speed. And for the notion of time, Newton thought it was always the same time at the same time. Okay, it was constant. Okay, 300,000 kilometer per second, and Einstein demonstrated in the relativity that it was according also to gravity. Okay, so if you have very important, like a black hole, it can affect, okay, curving space-time. So, and by the way, he says something I told you several times. He said the distinction between the past, the present, and the future is only an illusion. However, it is persistent. Okay, so this is interesting because actually time is not linear, but it is as a spiral. As a spiral, okay, and even more to see it, it's like a torus, a tor. If you check on internet animation, it's starting from a point and then amplification like this and coming back. So it's expansion and then contraction, expansion, contraction, but also on the other way around. And the whole dots, the whole points of the sphere and all the different sphere entangled, like the flower of life, okay, it would be something like the vision of this spiral time, okay? So it's even more complex because it's holographic, fractal holographic. Fractal, I invite you to check on internet what is it. It is known by the Swiss scientist Mandelbrot, allowing the process of computers and so on. So, as I like to say, everything already exists at the same time. That's why I say many times, all exists already, okay? All exists already, and all ready to exist. You will think about that. Actually, yeah, apparently everything exists at the same time. The now here, and then there is only now everywhere. Okay, but you need some space. I mean, some space between the events and the time to arrive there. You need duration, right? But maybe not. We will see with the notion of entanglement. Entanglement. The physics Prix Nobel 2022 is a French professor. It's Mr. Aspect, something like this, and he explained the notion of entanglement. Intrication is in French. Actually, once two particles have been linked, connected, knowing that everything come from the Big Bang, but there are thousands, billions, infinity of Big Bangs, and very small scale, and also the largest scale, and so on, but without to be too complex. But concretely, as initially you have the singularity point, and this is the pixel, the boson of Higgs in science, particle of God. They are trying to find it in Geneva, in the CERN, okay, the French and the Swiss complex. It's under is more than 30 kilometers. Well, anyway, just to try to find this particle, this pixel, encompassing all life, and but that's why in the notion of when I say everything is superposed, it's kind of, it's not visual for you, okay? It's not visual, and honestly, otherwise it would be impossible, not livable, okay? It would be not understandable, okay? But in this notion, that's why the synchronicities occurred and so on and so forth. But that's why when I said to you many times, and Einstein said, match the reality, the frequencies of the reality that you want, and you cannot stop getting it. It is not philosophy, this is science. So concretely, you vibrate, you shift on a timeline instead of another, but you exist as a multiverse within difference. And when we talk about the quantic leaps, this is just a jump, okay? A jump. It's small scale and very large scale as well. And concretely, because what is, when some people say, okay, the quantic physics is only for small scale. Yes, but what about the consciousness? There is a scale for consciousness. Can we measure it? It is 1 point. It is a sphere, and so on and so forth. Think about that. But make it short. Make it. Let's do it simple. Spacetime would be like, a carpet for roll up, and for which you unroll time over space. Okay, for you to admire, to observe the pictures on the carpet, for example, and that's why this point of contraction, the singularity point, and so on. And this is what we try to find in the meditation. Medium means the link and the center in Latin. Okay, medium, media for the news, and meditare, to meditate comes from medium as well. It is to come back to the point. Okay, so and the link. So you know it's always the singularity point, doing like a torus and coming back and so on. Well, anyway. But we shift according to our frequencies. But your consciousness is where we decide to go. Okay, but you coexist as a little you within the whole multiverse. Okay, so that's why it's important, is the most important, is your state of mind. When you are convinced about something. That's why the notion of co-visualization, visualization, co-creation, and so on, all the keys I talked in the past, and you can check the history of this old videos, it's always giving some practical aspects, and this is based on that. So if you are convinced of something, something happens. And if you don't let people entering in your bubble, quantum mark, letting them affecting your position. That's why it's very important to be anchored, grounded within yourself, what you want, and so on. Not for coexisting the will of I want, but it is already there. I have access to that. And probably we shift within the illusion. That's maybe I shift 10,000 of times in the beginning of this video, and just arrive freshly now, and I remember that I started the video maybe 30 minutes ago, and then, so I am myself, but maybe you are me also. At the same time, this is the consciousness experiencing itself, oneself, oneness, okay? Well, let's try to continue. I like to say time takes place in space, or time is space between events. Okay, I told you. But time, the time, avoid that everything happen at the same time. Okay, I'll give you this example I said to you many times. Okay, you watch a movie, okay, and you accelerate, multiply by 2. You can understand. by 4 is difficult, 8 impossible, and so on. And you increase till 6,000. In 1 second, you have received the whole image, but you cannot understand anything because you need to analyze and to filter and to unroll this information, right? So if you do it even, let's try to make the comparison and accelerate it. I mean, enlarging it, sorry. You watch 2 movies at the same time. This is possible. You will squeeze things, okay, but you can tell the story. 3 is more difficult. 4, 5, I don't think it's possible. 1 billion, okay, of people in general, and you watch it with, 3D glasses. You are with it. You are in this reality of illusion. But we are at the same time in other. But this is absolutely impossible to be to have the whole point of view. Otherwise, it would be too complex to understand. You understand? Well, this is, the point is the reason why I always say, for joking, to be the great all, okay, God, the source, is a full-time job. It's very difficult. It's super busy to be everywhere. So he needs to separate and to give, to delegate, to outsource also through us. You understand? We are him or her, or and vice versa. Okay, I know it's really difficult to put words on feelings, but so this is by provocation and by fun I said that, but it is really difficult. But this awakening period, that's why I'm always saying we have to do the job by ourselves. Nobody can go to toilets for you. But the fact that you evolved individually, you with the notion of entanglements and also the notion of resonance, as above, so below, as below, so above, you have a reciprocity. The more you awake, the more I do, and the more she's doing, and the more someone I don't know on another country or whatever awake as well. That's why it's individual with a collective mutual let's say effect. It's a teamwork, guys. So we are here to experience that. Okay, that's a miracle, right? So let's try to, also this notion of consciousness, I told you, is a kind of filter. This is like, oh, I would like to drink a glass. Okay, so you open up, there is a big dam, okay, taking billions of liters and so on, and you just open up, okay, that's nice, you have just a glass of water. Or you decide to break the dam completely. You receive a deluge. And what is this? It would be all the information. So that's why we are here. I told you many times, this is super important. It's not only philosophical, it is existential. To exist, existing, exists, okay, means to separate, to fragment. You are obliged to detach from the painting, to observe the masterpiece, right? And when you put the all pieces together, you admire the masterpiece. You understand? Masterpiece, piece, P-E-A-C-E and P-I-E-C-E. Okay, you get it? So, let's try to do it another parallel. For former Greeks, they had 3 notions of time. Chronos, okay, chronology, okay, not too difficult to understand. This is the arrow of time in perception. Past, present, future, even if it's an illusion, but is important. Otherwise, there is no movie, there is no story, there is no life as we can consider it in the matter, in Kodamari, in this perception. You understand? That's why the Hindus talk always about the Maya. The Maya is the illusion of this reality, 3D. Okay. But, and then there is also Kairos. Kairos, what is it? It is the suspended time. It is the time of dream, altered consciousness, and so on and so forth. Okay? So, it's more, you feel it, okay? It's when you are, I don't know, you are occupied and so on. You are not talking about. When you are in mindfulness, for example, you are in this time, not in the linearity. And the third one is ion. Ion concretely is a spherical time, like spheric, a sphere, okay, excuse my French, excuse my accent, my name is Aurélien, I try my best, and to transmit also, more than the words, it's also a vibration that I try to share with you, and my heart as well. So, yeah, this is the notion of the spiral, the golden number. It's the all torus together, okay? In animation, this is the all points, okay? This is, yeah, the sphere. You know, make it short, a shaman or a medium, okay? You know, I told you in the past, when I was old, there was always some, like, weather forecast, but for traffic jam. I imagine in many countries, all of the countries probably. And, okay, they had forecast. Why? Not because they have a crystal ball, but because they had the history. 40% of those who go to holidays in summer, it's 40% is July, and then the peak season is August, 60%, and especially from the 1st to mid of August. Same for Christmas and so on. Okay, blah blah blah. The peak season. Okay, so they were advising to avoid certain, and also another thing, it was, for example, take this or go through this road and so on, because there is a crash, an accident. But if you are in the traffic jam, you cannot see what's happening. You don't know. So there, it's a metaphor. They were in a helicopter observing, okay, there is a crash there, and with the information and so on, they could to have the bigger perspective. So the shaman or the medium, this is what we do. I mean, we are out of space-time, so we are linked to our K, I told you for Egyptian, is like our double, our higher self, guide, angel, whatever the terminology, it's not a big deal. And this is extremely important to understand this principle of let's say, this is not, for this one is not iron, is the second one, okay, the verticality. You know, regarding shamans, for example, when Christopher Columbus arrived on the coast, they could not see. Why? Because they were not prepared for that. Okay, so this is only because a shaman perceived it, not within his normal consciousness, but through something bigger, with a bigger field of consciousness, he could catch, and then he integrate by transmitting by orally and also kind of telepathy to other people, and they started to see. Okay, it doesn't mean that they were not existing, but for the perception, it's like here you cannot see. There are 3 seraphims. You don't see them? Huh? You would like to know if I'm joking or not? Huh? Well, or those who can feel or see people, ghosts, entities, and so on and so forth. You understand? So, all extraterrestrial, ET, why not? You know, aliens. But we talk about that in the previous video. Okay, so I think we're gonna. There is much more. This is just the appetizer. Okay, next time we're gonna enlarge and enlarge and enlarge much more to understand more concepts. And I just hope that it vibrates and it will help you to shape the master key of the consciousness, of the field of your consciousness, of the consciousness, of love, of whatever you want. This is repeating because as you know, all the roads lead to Rum and to Hum and to the Dom. Thank you for your attention and see you very soon.